Alright guys, so today we're working on the RX8 and we're doing some tall people mods. So seats in the RX8 are pretty high, even with the seat all the way down. When I wear a helmet autocrossing, my head still hits the ceiling, and it's not too comfortable with driving because I can't really stretch out my legs because the steering wheel doesn't telescope. I still have to sit fairly close to the steering wheel. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple things that are going to make my life a little bit more comfortable by adjusting the seat so it sits a little lower and by giving me a little more leg room. Alright guys, here's what you're going to need for this project. You are going to need socket wrench and 12mm socket. You can just use a regular wrench for this. You're going to need a couple, I've got 4 nuts here, 2 bolts, and some washers. The bolts are M8 125 by 40mm. You can go with a shorter bolt. I chose to go longer because I want to get the most out of this seat. And then of course the nuts are the same, 8, 1 1/4. So yeah, that's all you're gonna need. Oh, and a 10mm. I almost forgot that. You're also gonna need a 10mm socket or wrench. A couple more tools that I forgot. So I didn't realize at the time, but so the new nuts are actually more of a 13. They're not really a 12. So you're gonna need a 13mm to get the new bolts on if you use this size, the M8. So you're gonna need a 13 to get those on, as opposed to the 12s that you took off. So there you go. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take out this footrest right here. So in stop and go traffic, it's very convenient to have this footrest here. You can go on and off the clutch and just go to the footrest. But I can't actually stretch out my legs, and if we put the seat in my normal driving position, I gotta move it back, and I get in, what you can see is that my knee is like at the dash. There's not a whole lot of space there. And it is convenient if I'm going off and on, and you can kind of rest your leg on it. But I can't stretch my legs out when I'm driving ever. Just a little bit further back than that. So it's not that good. So what we're gonna do is, the only thing that holds this in is 2 little nuts right there. These are 10mm. So I've already taken them out, but so 1 there, 1 there. After we take them out, camera down, this comes right out. So here is your, oh, it's a little bright. That's your footrest assembly right there. Weight reduction, bro. And with that out, my leg can now extend straight. So you see how much leg room that gives you. I mean, that's how far it sits out in the car. Hand for comparison there. You know, that's a lot of space. So with that out of the way, you know, lots of space. Now this is not ideal for city driving, because then you don't have anything to rest your leg on in between when you're on and off the clutch all the time. So it's a little uncomfortable for like stop and go traffic. Here in Maine, we don't get very much of that, so this works just fine for me. Alright, so now that I've got that off, I am going to take these nuts, and I'm just going to thread them back on here. Just hand thread them, just to cover up these bolts so they don't, if I ever want to, I can, you know, put that back in. These won't be all, the ends won't be all nasty. So now we've made a little more leg room, we're going to make a little more headroom. Alright, so now if you have a manual seat in your car, the manual seat sits much lower than the power seats. The power seats sit a little bit higher, and especially if you have a leather car, most leather cars came with a sunroof, which means the headliner sticks down a little bit further. So between the seat sitting higher, headliner lower, you end up losing a little bit of headroom. I'm 6 feet tall, and when I autocross, my helmet is touching the headliner, and I have to kind of tilt my head to the center of the car so that it's actually in the sunroof, so that I can just sit properly. And we're going to do that by actually taking the brackets that hold up the seat bottom, and we're going to flip them, so instead of being underneath the seat bottom, they're going to be on top of the seat bottom. You're going to see what I'm talking about in a minute. First thing we're going to do is we're going to move the seat all the way forward and all the way. We're going to tilt the seat bottom all the way up. So, first thing we're going to do, now that we've got the seat moved forward, we're going to go ahead and unclip the cloth on the underside of the seat. To do this, we're going to pull it forward towards the front of the car, and then it's just going to pop off. So you can see this is how it's held on, and there are metal tabs underneath the seat bottom that hold it in. I'll show you those in a second. We're just going to tuck this up and away. So we're actually going to pull it through the other side just to make sure it's out of the way. There we go. This camera lens is being a pain in the ass. So, now you can kind of see those tabs I was talking about. This one right here. So this is what that clips onto. There's one on each side. So, now we get that out of the way, you can see the brackets. So if we go in, they're going to be right here, this bolt and bracket right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo this bolt. There's one on each side. And we're going to take this bracket, or the seat bottom, and we're actually going to put it underneath this bracket right here. Try to do this so it'll focus. There we go. So this part will be up on top of this. So we're going to start by undoing these bolts. There's one on each side. There's the other one right there. And I'll get right back to you. Alright, so we got both those bolts out. These are 12mm, by the way. And now we're going to flip the bracket. So these brackets actually they rotate. So you can pull them back like that. So now I pulled it all the way back. See how it does that? So I pulled it all the way back. Now I'm going to actually pull the seat bottom down. So I'm going to do that with both of them, flip them up. You've got to kind of separate the foam from the seat bottom. I'm sorry if it's hard to see, but there's not a very good angle to go here. Now I'm going to pull that down and flip that bracket on top. So, pull it down, flip it on top. So I'll show you now. So now, get the seat bottom there, and the brackets right up on top there. Alright, so originally, the bolts that went through the bracket into the seat bottom is threaded through here. This is threaded. So originally, you just bolt a bolt into the seat bottom through that bracket. What we're going to do now is we're going to thread a bolt all the way through the seat bottom and then through the bracket. We're going to put the nut on top. So we're going to take our bolt here. I'm going to grab a washer. There we go. I bought more than I needed. So I'm going to put a washer on that. There we go. And we're just going to thread that through. It's going to take a little while. So we're going to thread that all the way through. And then, once it's all the way through, start seeing it poking through there. So what you can do is you can either use a smaller bolt and just get like a 25mm long bolt and just put a nut right on top of the bracket up here and do that. That'll get you about an extra ½ inch of clearance. I want a little more out of this mod, so what I'm going to do is, now that I've threaded it up, bring it back down a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these bolts, these nuts, open them right up, So I'm going to take one of these nuts, and instead of just bolting the bracket directly to the seat bottom, I'm going to use this as kind of a spacer. You can just use like a big washer, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this onto the top of this bolt, and we'll thread it down just a little bit. So I'm going to put the camera down for a minute. I'm going to put this on here. So it'll be on the top of this bolt. And we're going to use it as a spacer. I'll get right back to you. Alright, so now you can see I've got my bolt that's threaded up through the seat bottom. And then on top of it I've got a nut, another nut and washer. And here's our, this is our bracket right here. So now, we've got this bolt going all the way through our bracket. Might need to thread that nut down a little bit more. But so now there's going to be another bolt and washer combo on top of that. That's going to actually hold it to the bracket. But so this is going to give us the most space that we can get out of this whole thing. I know it's really hard to see in there. But so I'm going to finish up this side. And I'm going to do that side, and then I'll show you kind of what the finished result looks like. Alright guys, so what I've actually done, I pulled the foam a little bit back a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. But so this is basically what we're doing now. So originally that bracket was under there, and now it's on top. And this is going to give us a heck of a lot more room on this seat. So now we're just going to put a washer and another bolt on top, tighten it all up, and we're good to go. Alright, so this is all done. Got those bolts all in. You can see it really well on the passenger side here. So you see the bolt threads up through the seat bottom. You can see the threaded insert right there. And then I've got my bolt there. Washers on either side. Another nut on top. I've left about the same amount of space on each side. This one I still got to tighten up. And yeah, good to go. I'm going to put everything back together now, and I'll show you the result. Alright, so you can see stock seat at the normal height. Not a big gap there. This seat now, stick my hand in there. I might have to back those back up a bit, but if I tilt it down a little bit more, that's not even all the way down. Holy shit. Now I'm sitting on the floor, so that's all the way down. So, let's just sit in it. Oh, and already you can feel the difference. Go to kind of my normal driving position here. I'm still very, very close to the ceiling, but I'm a little bit better than I was. And yeah, so I was kind of touching the ceiling, but I'm gonna go grab my helmet and we'll see how it looks with my helmet. Alright, got the helmet on now. As you can see, I am pretty much on the ceiling, but before, when I rode autocross with my helmet on, I was having to do kind of this to get into the area around the sunroof. I couldn't actually sit up straight, so my head looked like this. Now I can sit straight. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of a before and after. So this is your before. This is how it looked with the molding of the seat there. I'm going to use that as kind of a point of reference. And then this is me sitting in the car. So you can see I have to kind of sit sideways if I want my head straight. If I'm sitting like straight behind the wheel, my head's hitting and I'm having to tilt it. It's not very fun. And there's your after shot. So you can already see, I mean, before it was like right up here. Now you can actually see the bottom of that bracket. You go right underneath it. And also you can kind of shove your whole arm under the seat. So let's sit in the car. Ow. It's still tight, but I can sit behind the steering wheel. My head's straight. I am rubbing, but I think autocross I'm going to be a little more leaned back, and I think that's going to be a pretty good position for me. So there you go, guys. That is Tall People mods for the RX8, and all we did was a couple small things. The whole cost of that project was, you know, $4 in hardware. We just took that out, moved this seat bottom down a little bit, and it's a whole heck of a lot more comfortable. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you later.